That's not bad.
Scope guy going on there.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of what would be normally Electron Talk, and today is not, because I have mikey303 with me here in the studio. This is Mikey.
Hello. Mikey
is an absolute badass on the Dirtywave M8. If you're not familiar with that, we're talking about this guy right here. This is the M8 8-track tracker sampler. Mikey's going to tell you all about it. Mikey's been doing this for a really long time. He's been working on trackers for about 15 years. He's my go-to. And in fact, when you, I know I'm embarrassing him. And when you buy a Dirtywave M8, it initially ships with his presets in the M8. So we're talking, this is really like an M8 connoisseur, a tracker connoisseur, NerdSeek, Polyend Tracker, M8, all these trackers. Mikey knows them fairly well. Knew that the NerdSeek.
Yeah.
Really, really well.
Yeah, I was using NerdSeek for years before the M8 came out. So the M8 came out, I think it was 2020. Yeah, the beta unit came out in 2020, and then the production unit came out in 2021. But before that, yeah, I was doing Eurorack, and I used the NerdSeek for pretty much the whole brain of my entire operation.
What's really wild is that I remember Mikey was performing. Mikey's from Seattle, like me, and we have a great burgeoning electronic music scene here with some really great artists. And Mikey was playing modular under a different name, Skybox.
Skybox, yeah.
Under Skybox, and it was some of the best modular I've ever heard to this day. Still, I'm just like, this is really good modular. And but then you got an M8. Sold all your modular.
I liquidated the entire thing. I mean, what I wanted to do was have just one, all-in-one rave rig. And that's what I called it. I called it the rave rig. And it just had NerdSeek, and it just sequenced all the stuff, And what I really wanted was an M8 tracker. Just a little portable, all-in-one kind of music, tiny handheld workstation kind of.
And it does that, and you've lent like a great hand to some of the sounds that come with it. Let's switch over to the tracker view.
Sure.
Hit 2 and then hit on. And then here we go. This is Mikey's tracker, but you have 2 of them though, right?
I do have 2 of them. I did not bring both of them today. I'm very sorry. Just the one.
We have mine here too, so they can
perfect
smooch.
It's beautiful.
So Mikey's gonna go over tips and tricks. I'm gonna ask a bunch of questions because I want to get better at the tracker. I consider myself someone who's not bad at trackers at all. I think I'm good at trackers in my own right, but I don't feel like I'm on Mikey's level at all. And so there's so many questions that I have for him, and just how he does his whole process. Where does it start? How many tracks does he use? How long are tracks? Does he work in 4 bars or 8 bars? I like to work in 8 bars. I bet Mikey likes to work in 8 bars too.
I'm an 8-bar guy.
Yeah. We're 8-bar folks. Stuff like that. What instruments do you use? What samples do you go to? Are we doing breakbeats? Do we do chops? Do we sample? Are we using external pieces of gear? All this stuff we're going to chat about during the stream. So let's buckle up, and why don't you tell me, just so we can get a little intro and get some juices flowing, just tell me a little bit about what got you into trackers, and then why you ended up on the M8. And while you do that, I'm going to share the link over to the Discord.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess to start things off, I wasn't originally started. I didn't start off with trackers. I was really into chip music, chiptune. And this was 2006, 2007. And I didn't have a lot of resources, but I had a cracked copy of FL Studio. So
perfect.
So I was doing computer music for a long time. And I was making kind of 8-bit kind of chippy music. And then sometime when I started getting into the scene in Detroit, so I was a part of a chiptune scene in Detroit called Pico Detroit. I was performing, and at the time, all I had was just a big PC setup. So when I would go to perform, I'd bring my entire PC rig, the tower and everything.
What were you doing? What tracker were you using?
But this was before I was using a tracker.
Okay.
But what happened is I just had too many hardware failures. Like my PC would just, and like laptops, I used to use a laptop for a little while, and just they weren't reliable enough. I was having trouble with latency, all this stuff. I got really frustrated, and I switched over to a tracker called LSDJ.
Right.
And I'd already had some experience with it. I hadn't dived deep into it.
Was that strictly on the Game Boy?
It was.
Okay.
So Little Sound DJ is a
Well, that's what LS stands for. I never knew that.
yeah,
Little Sound.
Little Sound DJ is a music tracker for the Game Boy. It has a very similar interface to this one, mostly because this is directly inspired by its workflow.
Right.
And it comes and what's interesting about LSDJ and the M8 is that it actually is like an entirely different school of trackers. So when you talk about like
Renoise.
the Renoise or the Polyan tracker, that has a different lineage. That comes from the old school like fast tracker, noise tracker, which is like the old like late 80s, early 90s sampler trackers that a lot of like the UK guys were using to make drum and bass and stuff.
And video games.
And video games, of course. Yes. Yeah. So the LSDJ style tracker is very unique in that a lot of the things that we like about the M8, like the chains, for example, which I'm a big fan of, were made because of the limitations of the screen size. So it's really interesting. But they do come from the two different little families. I mean, they're all trackers and they all mostly behave the same way. But the really unique thing about the M8 having each of its tracks be completely decoupled is a very unique thing in the family of trackers. Like if you see any other tracker, you always see all 8 tracks being viewed at one time, scrolling down the screen.
Yeah.
Right?
Like the Polyan tracker and like Renoise.
Or Renoise, yeah. That's like the traditional tracker.
But then also Renoise does have that like side segment that kind of reminds me of the M8.
Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely.
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So do you have experience with Renoise too?
I think if I could go back in time, I probably would have started with Renoise and probably stuck there. I think Renoise is incredibly powerful and flexible. But I really love the limitation of, what the M8 offers or LSDJ. That's one of the reasons I really love chiptune is taking these old pieces of vintage, video game consoles and pushing their sound chips to beyond what they were supposed to be doing and making someone go, wow, that's a Game Boy. And
or like kind of faking a delay.
Yeah, that
stuff
just,
like that.
Just coming up with a lot of little creative ideas like that.
Yeah.
And you're just like, how are you doing that? Those are always the things that I always had a lot of fun with.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, can you give us a demo really quick of just some of the sounds that like some of the track sounds you've made? We don't like not a whole track, but just like maybe just let a bar or two of one or two of your tracks play. I'd love for people to get an idea of the kind of stuff that this thing is capable of making in the right hands.
All right. Here's a track. Let's see. I'll do something from my EP, an old EP. So,
cool.
Let's see here. How about this track here? It's a little footwork guy.
So wait a second. So this is you've already brought me to a great question. You have one of your EP tracks on your tracker. Are you bouncing these down to stems? Because the M8 can bounce down to stems.
Yeah, you can.
Is that what you're doing? And then you're going in and mixing them in your computer?
No. I whenever I mix these down, I've always been sort of a less is more kind of guy. So all the mixing, the way I want it to sound is how it sounds out of the M8, and that's what you hear on the recordings that I post. So
you don't.
So I don't do any post production audio or anything. I just do a final mix.
Zero. No like Ozone 9 instant mastering chain.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's so good to hear because like I've talked to so many musicians and it's like the discussion about mastering and all that stuff happens and people ask about when they make music in hardware. There's this conversation that always comes up. How do you capture it? Are you bouncing? Are you taking stems? Are you having it mastered, sending it to an engineer? And you're saying no. I'm releasing my music right out of the machine.
I mean, yeah. I've always been like the music scenes that I come from are always very DIY, and I love the way when someone does a live performance, how a live band sounds, on the stage, or if someone has their hardware and they're just making stuff sound big and intense. That's what I want to replicate when someone puts it on their speakers. I kind of like it to be a little bit noisy, a little messy. I think those things are important. I don't consider myself like a studio grade I don't know, designer. So I just
I do. I consider you one.
so to me it's more of capturing the energy. I don't know how else to explain it, but I just
Okay.
If it sounds good, it's good.
If it sounds good, it's good. That's what
Yeah,
Circo
you
said
know?
on the last stream.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm serving up a dish. Once it comes out of the pan, it's time to eat. Don't need to add any extra sauces.
That's
You know?
a really great analogy.
I don't know how else to
when
say.
it comes out, it's time to eat.
Yeah.
So eat this.
That's what yeah. So I changed to a different track. I think this is I don't know. It's so hard. There's always so much pressure to be like, all right, which track should I play?
Right. Well, you can play a few of them if you want, but I really want to like get into the meat and potatoes of how you make these things.
Okay. So I'll play like a little bit of this track and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Are all these are you synthesizing all of this?
So this track is like a good blend of synthesizers and samples and some external synthesizers that I sampled for this. So it's not this one is not 100% synthesized.
Not 100. Well, I use drum samples
Yeah.
a lot. Like I don't like synthesizing my drums in the M8 as much as I like to maybe in Electron, because I don't know, because it's a little bit more limited. They did add the drum envelopes and stuff for that FM synth, but it's still like it's a little finicky.
You should check out Trash 80's drum pack that he built for this.
Yeah,
it's
do need to
really
download
really
that.
good. I have a little demo track when I was playing with stuff yesterday where it's all synthesized. Let's see here. It's under my work in progress. This track.
Dude, you're so good at this thing.
So it's like just nice FM sounding, almost like Syntech
Wait, this
kind of
is
FM.
all FM drums?
It's all FM drums.
Whoa, that
you have-
kick is solid. Dude,
Yeah.
that kick is really
It's
solid.
really good, and it's just all FM synth stuff here.
Dude, no joke.
Yeah, his whole pack is crazy good. If I go to his pack, let's see, synth drums.
Whoa, that cowbell?
Yeah,
Get out.
yeah. This is all synthesized. It's great.
Damn, dude. You gotta hand it. Tim is an awesome producer.
He's a genius.
He is a genius. I mean, he's clearly a genius. Look at this thing. This thing's amazing.
Yeah. If you don't know Tim, Trash 80, Dirtywave is a one-man operation. So this whole thing is designed,
Crazy.
developed, assembled, shipped by Tim.
And sometimes with friends.
Yeah, he does have a couple friends. Yeah, I've come into the workshop and helped him assemble and get some of this ready to
Yeah.
go. So if you had some of the first production units, I've probably touched it. And,
Yep, we definitely got mine
Yeah.
for sure. I got one of the first pre-orders.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of the first ones. I fell in love. The M8. This is easily like one of the best pieces of hardware I've used in my life.
Yeah, it's sort of
Like it rivals my Electron gear.
it's my holy grail device.
Yeah.
I know when Tim originally designed it, he kind of had the idea of it being a replacement for his Octatrack. Now, it is not an Octatrack.
Definitely not.
But
Paired with an Octatrack.
conceptually, the idea was like he kind of used it as this kind of main station to control all of his other pieces of hardware, keep it all in sync. He wanted something that could play stems. Just sort of that kind of intention, I think. And he already had been working on a tracker for he started a project 10 years ago, and he just sort of shelved it, and then he brought it back once the Teensy platform kind of blossomed into what it is now. And he's like, all right, well, let's revisit it. And then before you knew it, instead of originally it was just a pocket MIDI sequencer. So it didn't have any
Oh.
onboard synthesizers or anything. It was just a
I
little.
kind of thought, like, because have you seen that little calculator thing? You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about. You
yeah.
have probably an eye for these things too,
Yeah.
like I do. That just plays MIDI
Yeah.
on battery. And so that's kind of what he started with.
Yeah, I think that's originally he had he was going to use it to control like old Atari sound chips on like
Oh.
external synthesizer stuff. So he's like, oh, I need a sequencer for it, so I'll just make my own sequencer. You know, I really like LSDJ, so what if I made a MIDI based sequencer like LSDJ for external synthesizer stuff, and it just sort of snowballed out of control.
Shout out to LSDJ
Yeah.
developer,
Yeah.
like for blossoming this thing
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah,
Because the LSDJ workflow is so cool. And you're right. The little teeny phrases, or chains, I mean,
Yeah.
the chains perspective as opposed to the chains perspective here, which you're using for at this
Yeah.
time, is a really cool workflow, albeit confusing at first.
at first, yeah.
But as soon as you figure out that it's just like pages on your
Yeah.
Digitact or
Yeah.
Octatrack or whatever, that you get it, and that you can have way more than
Yeah. Yes.
you can have as many as you want, really. Or 128 or something, right?
Yeah. My favorite function about the chains is the ability to transpose it. So you could like have one page and you could have the same page again, but you can transpose it. So
Yeah.
so you can make your progressions without having to
Yeah, so you
do
can
it
use
over
it
and
more
over.
like, you can also like use it well with the scaling feature, which
Yes.
wasn't in there before.
Yeah.
But like added to that. But before you
Yeah.
could just kind of make rhythms
It's just
and then
super
transpose the
fast.
rhythms and
Yeah.
make bass lines that way really easy,
Exactly.
right?
That's kind of
That was the old
exactly.
school like LSDJ
Yeah.
workflow.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can do that on the Octatrack
Can you?
with the arranger using the MIDI. The
Oh.
arranger has a MIDI output and it lets MIDI transpose. And that's
Oh,
how
that's so
when I
nice.
teach the Octatrack, that's how I explain it. I was like, this is just like working in LSDJ. Usually they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. What's
Okay.
LSDJ? They're just confused. But yeah, you can do a similar workflow. Cool. So let's do some more music. I want to hear like just maybe a little bit more of some of the stuff that you've worked on, and then let's start making some tunes. And I'm just gonna pick your brain and interrupt you every 2 seconds.
Here, I'll pull out a really old track since it's a vocal track that I made. I remixed a track for my friend Limbo. So just nice little.
God damn. How's this sound so good?
Yeah. It helps that Limbo is also super talented.
For sure. That always-
It's cool. This is a remix I did for her. That's sort of I used some of her samples and then my own stuff. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a remix, right? So,
Yeah. I've never been good. Like I'm not like a remix artist. Like I would love to be able to do that, but this is intimidating me to do it. This is one of those songs that makes you really grateful that this is stereo.
yes, 100%.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
hear it. It's so stereo. The vocal line,
yeah,
so good.
yeah. And also, you feel the benefit of the sample streaming as well, right? Where
Yeah, the
you're not
unlimited
limited to sampling because you could play. You know, you could play like a 2-hour-long track if you really want
And
to.
you can DJ.
Yeah, you could. I've been tempted to try that in the past, and now that we have tempo drift. What's it? I forget what it's called. Like the compensate.
I mean, I don't know about that.
I'll show you. I can show you. It's like a catch up or slowdown. So you know, like
Yeah, like
when
it's
you're
like on the
DJing,
Octatrack you can nudge.
it's nudge. It's nudge.
Okay.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Wow, that's
It's a newer
really cool.
newer feature. Yeah. Because whenever I do two M8s, I don't sync them. So if I'm performing live and they're a little off sync, I can just tap the nudge and get them perfectly sampled.
This feels like what I do when I use my Octatrack
Yeah.
live. Like some of the effects and stuff, the beat repeats, like
Yeah, just
you did it all on here, which is so cool.
yeah. Yeah, this is super old. This is one of the first things I think I made on the M8.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
God damn.
I made this I think before the FM synth was even implemented. So it's just
Wave synth.
it's
and
just
macro.
wave synth and macro synth and sampler. Pretty sure. I could be lying, but okay, I lied. There's some FM. This was after FM synth was implemented, so it would have been early 2022 or late 2021.
super good.
Thank you. Yeah.
I really dig hypersynth too.
The hypersynth is beautiful, wonderful engine. It's like,
I was happy to have been able to like help at all by making a preset for hypersynth, which I think a bunch of people ended up downloading.
yeah, it's great.
The chords,
Yeah,
and a bunch of
just be able to
just
cycle
chords.
through all the different banks.
Yeah.
Super, super handy. Yeah.
That was amazing. So this was mostly samples, so stems, and then you kind of cut them up and reorganize them with the sampler.
Yeah.
In here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Sample chopping I've found difficult in the M8 for me, coming from Octatrack.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, just the control is so much easier for me. But like, I know that you can also use the screen and hold edit.
Yeah.
I get a little confused by it.
So I do a little bit of sample prep before I load stuff in that I know that I'm going to chop up.
Okay.
But if I'm using if I'm doing like a drum break, like if I want to pull out some breaks, for example, let's see. I got a lot of aim breaks and stuff in here, so we just like when we have an aim break here, your whole sample screen. There's a lot of ways that you can process. You can try to use the auto slicer if you've never used that before. So we have it in here, I believe.
Yeah, if we were going to start a track using this break right here, what would you do?
Oh man. Well, I already know that this sample is like perfectly evenly cut, so I don't even have to use this sampler bit. On the sampler synth here, there's already like a slice function right here, so I can actually figure out how many slices it is, and I know it's like an even amount, so it's probably like 36 or something. So if I go here, yeah, it sounds right.
It does, yeah.
So I could just actually be able to do like
16 or
16
something.
actually.
Make them a little bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe if the tempo is correct, I think it's 175. So there it is. So I could just.
So okay, I've already got something to talk about here. So when you're doing, a lot of people that are chopping breaks on the M8, they do the LFO hold trick.
Oh, to do
where
that
they're doing time stretch, so they can use a 136 BPM, right? Because the aim and break is 136 BPM when it's recorded. So we got to stretch it. Like you're playing on 175. This is obviously a prepped.
Yeah, this is a prep sample.
Prepped break. But if you didn't have a prepped break, what would you have done?
If I didn't, I mean,
would you do the LFO trick, or would you resample it?
I don't really use the little time stretch.
I don't like it.
I don't like it. It's just it's a little too
granular
crunchy,
sounding,
a little too grainy.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it were me, like I would just get the right tune, like the right tempo.
That's what I would do.
So it's like, you know,
yeah,
I can roughly
tune it up and then try and
do a little tempo tap, you know. Oh, it's actually a little bit slower than. Sorry.
And then would you resample it?
Yeah.
And speed it up.
Right. Get this. So it's like right around there, and I could kind of nudge it until I get it to sound right. That's pretty close, actually. So.
That is pretty close.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like that. That's what I thought. That's all I would do. Just that.
All right.
I
think it's a good question because I think a lot of people don't know what to do with breaks.
Yeah.
And they're a confusing thing because the music you hear when people are using drum breaks on trackers, on anything, is complex sounding. It sounds like there's a drummer going just batshit on a drum kit, and you're like, how did they do that?
I think with breaks, I mean it's its own like its own. We could talk for hours about doing breaks, you know. I think a really important thing for me is to make sure all your breaks are all in one channel, like in one track, so that they never overlap each other. Because it's so easy to be like, okay, I want to make something that's like big, crazy breakcore stuff, and it sounds so dynamically messy because everything's overlapping on each other. So
there's like two crash cymbals and two hi-hats at different times. And
just let's see if I have a track that has some breaks. I think I do. I think I have this track, I think, has some breaks. Yes. So I have this like sorry. Yeah. So I have like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a matter of listening to each of the little slices and arranging it like drums. You know, if I'm trying to come up with a break, I'll literally just drum it out like with my hands or whatever, you know, and just like figure
Are you a
out the
drummer?
rhythm. I'm not.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just like imagining the rhythm that, you know, usually you want your snares to hit on the, what is it? The 2s and 4s, right? Is that right?
It depends on what you're
I guess
playing.
you're playing, but you know what I mean? Just like you
Yeah.
you set a bass line, just like, you know, do like a drum and bass, just a kick snare,
Yeah.
and then just start filling it in.
Yeah.
Filling it in, doing fills, you know, make sure you're not repeating the same kind of rhythm over and over again. Add some re-triggers, re-pitch stuff, you know, so you get that, you know, that kind of stuff. Just any little trick to kind of keep it interesting, because it's just like any other, you know, melodic line or bass line. If it's this, unless you're intentionally trying to make something that's kind of pulling you into a trance, you know, where you want it to be like hypnotic and repetitive. But if you're doing something that's high intensity or really, you know, highly dynamic, people are paying very close attention, you know.
Right.
Like when you're listening to like, you have like breakcore or drum and bass or anything, there's just people are listening to the very
Every
specific
detail.
things. You're like, you want to, you know, keep the variety going.
Yeah. Because that music is very. It's just not background music.
Yeah, it's not background music. There's two kinds of music for me. There's listening music and dancing music, right? There's music that you listen to, you put your studio headphones on, you sit in your chair, you know, and you just kind of you're eating it, you know, you're eating it for breakfast. You are indulging and just kind of being fully immersed in it. And then there's like dance music where you're doing more of the feel, right? You're in the space and you're kind of synchronizing yourself with the music.
And you're building the music out for people to move their bodies to.
Exactly. And you can do a little bit of both, of course. But I feel like, you know, especially when I'm making tracks, I'm trying to do one or the other. And that kind of thing is like, you know, things to think about when you're trying to decide how complex the track is going to be, I guess. Yeah.
That's really good. That's really interesting to think about. And I guess I hadn't really thought about like the idea of like, this music is music to listen to, and this music is music. It's both to listen to, of course, but one of them is like you're saying, studio headphones. I picture myself like with an espresso, and I'm in this leather chair, leaning back, just drinking in the sound.
It is great because it doesn't have to be like smooth jazz. It could be just the gnarliest neuro bass, you know, just like
just a noise
session. You listen to, you know, like Merzbow, and you're just, you know, just like getting destroyed by a wall of sound, and you're just like, it's exquisite, right?
Oh man, it's just your ground loop.
Yeah,
maxed out. All right.
I mean, if you've ever been to like a noise show under a bridge, you know, it's kind of what you get.
That's what it sounds
you just
like.
you lay on cold cement while someone blasts you with, you know, ground noise.
Someone just walks in with a leaf blower and just sticks it in your skull.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. DC Merrick says, with only 8 tracks, how do you track a full drum beat? Do you use one track for a kick and one track for everything else?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. So if we're talking about M8 with the M8 workflow specifically, I tend to keep all my melodic content on one side of the screen and all my rhythmic stuff on the right. So I tend to dedicate 2 to 3 channels for drums. And so I'll have usually my kick and snare usually are sharing the same channel.
Okay.
Because depending on what kind of snare you're using, they could kind of compete for specific frequencies.
Yeah.
So having them in the same channel means that they'll never compete.
Yeah.
You know, they're always sharing that space.
Off.
And then I'll dedicate the other one to like all my hi-hat action, or you know, if I have my rim shots or my toms or stuff, they'll kind of dance between each other. Yeah, doing all the little fills. And then I usually save like a track for like risers and cool down kind of stuff, or crashes. That takes its own space because obviously it gets choked. Yeah.
You can't choke that stuff.
Yeah. So I kind of I kind of think about where my choke groups are going to be with all of my instruments, and then go, okay, that's the space you're going to live in. You're going to share it with these other instruments in that space.
This is good.
Yeah.
I'm going to mimic this
Yeah.
myself after I've gleaned all the information I can from you.
Someone asked if they can hear the full track. It's like 6 minutes long, so
Yeah,
I will.
yeah.
But so maybe not now, but maybe I can. I think I can share like a link later, and you can hear the full track.
Yeah. And I'm sure you can always pop on, and Mike, you maybe pop on and answer comments after the stream is done too. We'll also, of course, chat, and then I'll have links to Mikey's music and all that stuff if you're interested in checking out more of his stuff. I love the idea of doing these streams and having great artists come on here. Like, I feel very honored to have Mikey come on and do this. It's super cool for me because I really respect his music, and you're a great person too. You're just so friendly.
Shucks.
So I would love to do everything I can to promote and have you guys all check out Mike's music, because clearly it's totally kick-ass, and he's going to share some more with you soon. But yeah, let's get back to making a track. I really want to see this process.
Okay.
I want to see this kick, snare on its own track, and the risers, the whole thing.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll start from scratch here.
Okay. So let's start with what's going on.
So I have a
Stuff
template.
already on.
Yeah, I have a template already set up, which you can do if you save a thing as template in like the system folder. This is my typical way I tend to organize my tracks at first. As you can see here, maybe
should we switch over?
We should switch over. Go ahead and switch over.
Do you want to hit the number one on that?
Sure can.
Bam.
Here
Okay, we go.
So you can see here we have our 8 tracks. And I already have them numbered 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, etc. This is just generally how I set up all my tracks. This helps me organize and kind of remember what is what.
Okay.
Because what's nice about the M8 is that when you double tap edit, it starts a new iteration and it increments it.
This is what I was doing. Can I just show? We're not going to show the stream, but I'll show you. So like for me, I have 0, 0, 0 and FE, and like so 0 is the 8-bar silence, and FE has a kill.
Yeah. I tend to do that as well. Yeah. So my 0, 0 is going to be usually what I make as my kill channel.
Oh, your kill channel.
So 0. And again, it doesn't matter. It comes all down to they're I guess we're doubled up here.
Oh shit. That should be fixed.
All better.
Is that better now? That was my computer, so you guys were hearing the stream itself twice. But please, before we move on, somebody confirm that it's all good. Yes, thank you.
Yay. Okay.
All right.
So as I was saying, I tend to organize my tracks, track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just these numbers here, 10, 20, etc. Because what's nice is when I want to start the next chain in this like sequence, I can just double tap edit and it'll just increment it by the next available number.
Right.
So then I always know, like, if I start this track 1, say it's like chord steps, I'll always know that these 10 ones are going to be the chord steps. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Since there's no like direct labeling
Right.
of a track, you can't be like, oh, I've labeled track 3 as my bass. I just know that it's my bass.
I wonder if he'll ever add any sort of label.
I think
just highlights and it says a word down below. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that.
I would. It's been suggested before.
Okay.
It's not out of the question.
Yeah, it's also not important, but it would be cool to have
Yeah.
eventually. Okay. I'm following.
Yeah. So if I were to start a track, I usually have an idea in mind already. And usually I'll either do like I have a progression in mind, or like a bass line in mind, or a specific rhythm. So since I'm sort of on the spot here, we'll start with like some chords or something.
Okay, yeah, let's start with some chords.
So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the scales. How does F minor sound?
F sharp. I love F minor.
Yeah, F minor. All right.
Just lovely key.
Yeah. So we're going to start here. I'm going to use chain 1, phrase 10.
Okay.
We're going to make a new instrument. So anytime that you drop anything in this I column here, it's going to put it down a new instrument, and you can double tap to have a new iteration. I actually have, in my template, I have 2 instruments already set up here. My little 303 guy here. We'll get back to that.
Okay.
But I want something new. So we're going to go over here to the instrument screen. If anyone is following along, if you look at that bottom right-hand corner, there's sort of a little map. It's like a little Zelda map. You know what I'm talking about?
It is like a Zelda map.
It's like a little Zelda map. And the way the M8 works is it uses a kind of drill down workflow. So anytime I'm moving to the right here on the screen, we're getting more and more finer into the what we're actually modifying. So on this, the main screen here, we have our song arrangement. Then we have our arrangement of phrases called a chain. Then we have our actual note arrangement. And then we're able to go deeper. We're looking at the actual instrument itself that we've highlighted here. So that's what we're looking at the moment. And then there's tables, which we could maybe go into tables later.
Yeah, I'd like for us to visit tables at least for a moment, because I use them as arpeggiators.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of like the meat and potatoes use
is arpeggiations,
complex
or another kind of LFO.
Yes.
We're using them for ducking.
Yes.
Thank God.
Yeah.
That process is done.
Yeah. Now that the mod screen has been.
Oh, dude, it's so flexible. Good. It makes me emotional because they gave me everything I ever wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great.
Except for not being able to modulate one LFO to the other. That I'm waiting for. Okay.
I believe we have you can mod.
Like you can't. Your destination can't be LFO 2's frequency.
No, but I think we have. You can set the destination to. You can do the amount or rate now. So.
Oh.
And so it goes 1 affects 2, 2 affects 3, 3 affects 4, and 4 affects 1. And you can set an LFO, or you can set any envelope to either the modulation rate or the amount. So you
Holy shit.
Yeah, so that's new. That's new.
That just blew my mind. That is new. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, so you can do like, I have to remember how to do this, but you can get like a bouncing ball effect, right? So,
yeah.
So because you can send one envelope to the others, like the volume or like the pitch, so you can go boop, 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 that kind of sound.
That's sick.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Shattered Square says you use tables for that, for modulating the LFOs.
Yeah,
which I agree. That is what you would use tables for,
Yes.
in my opinion.
Yes.
But I would like to be able to do it with an LFO. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I guess again
let's get some
we'll start
chords going.
with some chord stabs. I don't know. This should be all. I should be on. Yeah, I should be on a scale, so we can make just a little minor stab, maybe a little swarm.
Just the sound of God.
It's sorry, this is not going to be very exciting at first while I'm doing some sound design stuff here.
So what Mikey's doing right now is he's setting up a basic subtractive synthesizer using the hypersynth.
Yes.
Because it doesn't hold, this machine doesn't hold your hand in any way. Like when you open up a synth, it doesn't automatically give your amplitude envelopes ADSR. It doesn't give your filter. It's so wide suddenly, it's awesome. And it doesn't give your filter immediately an envelope. You know what I mean? You have to go in and set that stuff up. So you do have to like understand a bit of synthesis to use this machine in its full essence, but you can get away with just using the presets anyway.
Yeah. So we'll do something kind of maybe electro-y sounding.
Yeah, let's do it. Like, electro's my shit, so yeah, let's go.
Something really cheesy.
Circo says, "Yay, M8 school." Yeah, everybody's in M8 school right now.
So now what I can do is I have this phrase here, and say I want to like have a different progression. I can copy that phrase into more bars. Usually I do 8, but for this instance, I'm just going to do it just for simplicity's
so we
sake.
can finish something.
So we can transpose it.
And because it's scaled,
yeah,
it transposes like a real keyboard player would transpose.
So for this, so it's super easy. So you can make your progressions really, really fast. Or if you had like a really nice bass line that you wanted to do, you could just make, for example. So we're just gonna put this over. So I'll make a. We'll just for this example here. So
is this your new patch?
This is the new patch.
So Mikey, can you tell us about what this patch is, and also point out what you did with the table because it's so cool.
Oh yeah. So so I'm working on a new preset here. I love acid. I love 303s. So I got asked. Well, the M8 comes with some presets that I made, some like little 303 presets, but I don't think they're good enough. So I did them years ago, and I spent more time kind of revisiting it. I really wanted something that sounds a little closer, a little more accurate while I'm like traveling and I don't have my 303 with me. So I made a sample based one that uses the raw VCO from a 303 as like the core of it. So
I can't wait to get my hands on this.
So yeah, if you just, I mean, it's just you can see like it's not a perfect looking square shape, which
just
is
like the 303.
Just the 303.
Yeah.
So I tapped it out of my Avalon baseline, and then I just spent time getting these envelopes to behave pretty much in the same kind of range that you would expect on a 303. So I sat and I kind of A/B'd them to get
like a scientist of
sorts.
Yeah.
And then if I look at here, my mappings here for if I have a MIDI controller set up, it'll make sure that it doesn't go over or under the range that it's designed to. So whenever I turn it, it'll always behave, because it's very easy with like envelopes to kind of go over the range and then it kind of stops sounding like a 303.
Right. But the 303 doesn't ever stop sounding like a 303.
Yeah. So make sure that doesn't happen.
And then what about this table? So this is a little bit.
So a table is like a sub sequencer that every instrument has that gets triggered whenever the instrument is triggered. So anytime you see something in this I column here, it's going to also fire its table. So the way I have it set up right now is you see it's kind of stuck there at the top row.
Yeah.
And that's because this hop command is keeping it there. But if I ever want to call this information down here, which you see here, there's like two commands. There's one that increases the envelope amount and one that increases the decay amount of these two of envelope 4 and envelope 3. What I could do is have a command called table hop.
And you'll table hop it to step 1?
To step 2, because that's where step 2 is happening.
Step 2.
So now when you can't super hear it.
Kind of sounds like accent.
So the accent has the way that the 303 accent works is that the envelope is like kind of cut a little bit shorter, kind of chokes it a little bit, and it also plucks the resonance a little bit more. So you get
We're looking into it because me and my buddy are in the middle of building something. I'll talk to you about that after the stream.
Cool. Yeah, and also you can see that it also bumps the volume up just a little bit.
It does.
So it gives it that little accent. So I'm able to like kind of simulate.
It sounds like the accent on the 303. I mean, I play with the TB03 like every single day. It sounds like it.
There it is. Yeah, see? So now I can, so if I were to copy this. Yeah, so it's just a little, and you can see the envelopes working there whenever the table hop gets triggered, and it triggers those envelopes.
I'm so glad it shows you all the modulation happening.
Yeah. So yeah, again we can.
Yes, I guess we're gonna use this, right?
Yeah. So yeah. Maybe not. This kind of sounds a little. It's a little on the cheesy side. So we're gonna save this. We'll come back to this bass line. But from here, I would probably want to just do like some percussive stuff. Again, I'm probably gonna probably do like just a simple kick and snare.
Do you usually write at 120 BPM or?
No, I can speed it up a little bit. Do like maybe 130 or 135.
Okay. I have no problem with 120. I was just legit curious.
Oh yeah. So I tend to work anywhere between like, depends on what I'm in the mood for. I love doing like acid house. I do like footwork stuff, and I do drum and bass. So it's like, all right, do I want to do 130, 160, or 175? So for this, we can do 130.
So this is acid house.
Yeah, well, we can make a little acid house, little electro acid kind of thing. For percussion, I tend to use samples. It's kind of my preference.
Yeah, me too.
If you want, we could try out Tim's drums if you want. If you're feeling up to it.
It's up to you. You take me down the ways that you would go. Well, I'm curious. I want to know what you would do.
Okay.
Like not what is cool. Like what does Mikey do?
All right. What would I do here? So I would probably use a sample.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, we're gonna change to a sampler. We don't need this name, and My sample library is a mess. I use the Gold Baby super analog drums samples. I love they're like 808s and 909s and stuff. So we'll use some Roland drums for this. So we're gonna find a nice.
Can't go wrong with those.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Gold Baby. I've not heard of that.
Yeah.
They got some grit.
Yeah, some really nice.
Ooh, there's some clean ones.
Yeah, I
always go with the clean stuff. That's just me.
Big fan. So for this, I'm just gonna do 4 on the floor. So we'll see if my snares I end up getting in this channel. If not, they'll probably share like the rim shots or stuff. It varies from track to track. But as you can see again, I tend to have all my percussive stuff starting on the right side, all my melodic content on the left there.
That's funny because that's how I do my Octatrack stuff, right? My Digitact goes into left and right, A and B on the Octatrack, and my Syntac and Digatone go into C and D on the right side. Like just naturally, because it makes sense to break them up.
It does.
Like in your head. Not just musically, also musically, but like to break up those concepts and work on them separately.
Yes, 100%.
I don't know. I don't know.
And it's also great for like performances. So you always know where everything's going to be. You're trying to do your muting and soloing stuff, or you're changing different parts. You don't want to accidentally go to the wrong progression, if you're moving to a new pattern,
right?
And you're like, oh, suddenly they're super dissonant because you picked the wrong one. Like that's where my kick drum is going to be, and I just want to change the kick drum.
And also, like, it's also good to do the same thing over and over. Like, you're not playing the same music over and over, but you're putting stuff in the same place.
Yes.
And you just always know where that stuff is.
Nice consistency.
And get used to repeating the same steps.
Yeah.
So you can get faster.
Yes.
And also remember what you're doing.
Now, as far as like where I go from here, I could spend so much time on sound design. I'll try to
Well,
not
I'd like
go
to see
too
some,
deep.
but like, you don't have to go.
But things I like to do with kick drums. So there's a built-in amplifier, like distortion kind of algorithm that's in the M8. That, as you can see, it's set to currently the limiter. The way it works is once it hits the threshold, it just clips the audio, so you get that big square wave.
The top.
Yeah,
cuts the
see.
All right.
And so there's a clip, there's sinusoidal, so it applies a sine wave to it. Which
like audio rate.
This is my favorite one. We'll
So
come
this
back.
is the one that you
it's the one I tend to use. There's wave folding, so it folds it back over. There's wrap. So the way it works is that anything that goes over the threshold comes back through the bottom. I don't know how else to explain it.
That's hard for me to.
It's wave wrapping as opposed to wave folding. I don't know how else to describe it. And then there's post filter distortion. And then there's
post filter is the one I always go to because that's how you get the squelch for the 303 sound.
Yeah. So you got your post filter, and then there's one called post filter analog drive, which is soft clipping as opposed to it's sort of a blend of the main
of clip
and sort of kind of works them together, so you get a nice nice soft clipping,
like warmth before and after filter. Okay, I never understood that.
So I think he modeled it after using a bunch of like Erica synth stuff, because it uses a lot of soft clipping for a lot of the way they do a lot of their distortion stuff. So he was, I think he was using the techno system. He's like, why can't I get this sound on the M8? So he just added it. So now you can get.
Does he have a techno system?
Yeah.
I would love one of those.
So, but for this, what I like to do is just use this sine filter, and you can even tell without even adjusting how much amplitude it gives. It adds a little bit more transient pop. So if I
you can hear the volume going up slightly, but it's definitely getting more pronounced. Like the transient is getting emphasized.
Yeah. So this is the idea. I would adjust. So what do you want? Do you want hand claps? Are you a hand clap kind of guy?
Sure.
I know some people are snare guys, some people are clap guys.
I've been a clap guy lately. I don't have the clap lately. That's good.
So we'll still so much pressure here. So I'm trying to think of like.
We have all the time in the world. We could literally do this forever if we want. There's no rules. We are the gods of the internet for the day.
Cool.
We own the whole internet.
I'm gonna clip this because the tail is too long. Because I want to do like a reverse reverse into the actual sample. So we'll
Oh yeah, let's talk about this shit.
yeah. So we're gonna crop it real quickly. Yeah. So this is the sampler. There's a lot of great different little functions here. There's a lot of them.
So many functions in the process menu. Kind of wish it did the pop-up thing.
Yeah.
You know, except for with the numbers.
I would,
Slicing.
something worth asking Tim about. I know he tries to keep things contextual on one screen, you know, just so you don't get buried in menu
appreciate
diving.
it. Yeah. It works.
But
It works.
the silent tail on this was too long, so I just snipped it off using the crop. I can undo it. You can see it there.
Okay.
So I just highlighted what I want to keep. So
And you can also use your finger.
Yes, I can.
Like what do you hold on? You
So
hold
I
it
hold down. I believe you. I don't do it a lot because I like mechanical keys, but it should be just holding down edit and swiping finger. You can't see my hand here.
Yeah.
I don't know if, we can.
We
switch to
can
that.
switch it over.
So,
And show this really quick.
so we'll show you guys here.
Well, actually not really, because then we have to switch the camera perspective.
Oh,
Which we
okay.
can if you hit 2.
2.
There we go.
So yeah, you can see here if I hold this. So whenever anyone says, "Oh, I wish there was like an encoder or a knob on the M8," you kind of have one here. So you can set it here. You know, you just
Oh
hold
yeah, I
edit
guess
and
you can
slide
use
on.
it everywhere.
Yeah. You
I
need-
prefer to definitely do just the keys. I don't like touching the screen. I want to
Yeah.
get the screen dirty. Like I don't like it.
I'm a big fan of
I would rather have
having
an
a little more
encoder.
precision, and then
for that.
but some people they need that little bit of, you know,
It's faster.
tactile kind of sensation. You know,
Yeah.
people love turning the knobs, right? So
All right, let's get back over here.
okay.
We hit a 1. Okay, perfect. Cool.
So again, I forgot to crop it, so we're gonna fix that. We're gonna crop it down here. Crop it. I'll just overwrite it. Not a big deal.
Cool.
There we go.
All right.
So
Couldn't you also have just adjusted the end length in another effects channel
yeah, but
as opposed to
this
cropping?
is sort of future proofing it. So
That's true,
anytime
yeah.
I ever come back to the sample, it's already trimmed down to where I want it to be.
That makes sense. Okay, I've wondered that. Like, am I like? I guess it doesn't really matter when it comes to like space, kind of like the Octatrack.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about the Octatrack quite a bit. This
Yes.
is like my reference for everything is Octatrack.
Yes.
But like, because it's got an SD card and it streams from the SD card, worrying about samples
Yeah.
and projects and saving this and saving that is like a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Because what do you have in there? 32 gigs or something?
I have a 128.
120. It does 120. I didn't even realize it did.
Yeah,
that.
if you format your card to exFAT, it'll support whatever as long
Holy
as
shit.
as long as the read speed works.
So you're never gonna. So you're literally never gonna run out of space.
No.
Probably for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'm like 128 is actually almost too much because it brings back in the selection paralysis, right?
Yeah, you just too many.
There's
sounds
just too
in there.
many samples, and it's just like I should just get rid of all of them. I always use the same drum machines. Like, there's no reason I need like
I like
the like 50 drum machine pack, and I like never use. I'm never gonna use an Ace tone. I love the Ace tone, but I'm never gonna use. But, so yeah, I'm just I
Yeah.
love doing a little reverse into the sample. I do it with snares. Okay, I'm gonna change the space line because I actually hate it. So we're gonna try something. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And then I like to, since I'm doing 4 bars for this, I'm just to make it simple. I tend to do like a little change up on the last pattern. So I'm gonna mess with the envelope here. So we're gonna add an attack to the cutoff. So let's see here. Current instrument. We'll do attack envelope 2.
Yes.
Yeah, but maybe the cutoff can go down a little bit. Yeah, that something like that, you know. Make it a little bit wider. Sorry. So now we have our different little, just that, you know, little cues that's starting over again, right?
Something you would also do with like a noise riser in the
Yes.
future.
Maybe I want to sidechain it to the kick drum.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna set this up real quick. So source 50. I tend to like also for my instruments, I tend to end up using the instrument name that goes under the phrase name there. So I'm in phrase 50. So my kick drum is going to be instrument 50. That makes sense.
Got it.
And then all my instrument kits. So my kick, my clap should be here, which I forgot to do, but I would iterate it like, okay, well this sample is going to be like, my hi-hats, right?
Do you use like more than one version of a kick drum when you're...
I can do that it depends on what I'm going to do, if I'm,
Okay.
But for this, for example, I'm just, I make all my percussive iterations are all going to be under
the
50 family.
The 50,
that makes sense.
50 fam.
Yeah,
Right on.
the 50 fam.
50 Cent would be really into this.
Yeah. So we don't want it to duck, or we do want it to duck.
Yeah.
It's just like, how much do you want it to pump? I kind of like to have it hold for a little bit, just like half a step, 3 ticks. So you kind of feel the pump, right?
Totally.
What else do we want to do here? Maybe I'll make it a little bit louder. We could add a little bit of grit to it. Maybe too much grit. We want some hi-hats. Claps look good. Let's add a little hi-hat action. So let's make a new, turn this down a little bit. Make sure the pitch is somewhat right. We're gonna do new sample, and we want like a closed hi-hat.
Do you ever start with an open hat and just close the hat and then open it and close it?
Yeah.
Or do you usually use
I
two different samples?
like to use 2 different samples because then I'm able to kind of manipulate one without affecting the other. If I
Right.
want to do, I don't know how to explain it, but I love the sound of both little hats. I mean,
Okay.
and you could totally do that. Actually, I
That's
wonder how
something
that
I
would
do
sound.
on the dig attacks, but I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad. It's just
It's
something I
preference.
done a lot. Yeah.
Let's do a shot. Let's just this really noisy open hat. So what we could do is like add a volume envelope, just really short. Yeah, I mean that works great. So what we could do is do a quick fill using the fill
Love
pattern.
that.
Just nice. Or we could even
Get like a rhythm.
do a little random. Maybe not. Maybe something a little more interesting than that. It's cool because it'll randomize the volume as well.
Wait, how do you move the whole segment up and down again?
So when you have more than one column selected, and you hold edit and up and down, it'll cycle everything.
Oh, okay, got it.
So you're able to like quickly like find a better rhythm, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, I think I kind of like the straight.
The straight beat. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Don't. I am no influence here. I want to I want to know what what you do. I want to be as good as you.
So I'm gonna do a fake sidechain little action here. Just automating it manually here.
Okay.
And then maybe have a little randomness on the pitch. So do a random LFO. Let's do random, just a little bit. And I'll do it every step. Just a little, maybe even a little bit of panning. I'll do like a square up.
That's very stereo.
Something like that. Just gives a little room to wiggle around. Yeah. We want the open hats as well, right? So we'll do this. Actually, let's see here. Same here. Let's do the hats. So I like to have like all closed hats, and then maybe I want to have an open one as well. So what I can do is Shift, Option, Edit again. We'll have it makes it does a deep clone, so it's a brand new copy that I can edit without affecting the original one.
It'd be cool if it did that to the instruments too.
I feel like he could do that, where if say you do
Like a deep.
like a deep clone. So yeah. So yeah, you do like this and then do it again. You know.
That'd be so sick, wouldn't it though? Like if you did a deep clone
deep
and
clone.
like keep one more time and everything.
Chains, phrases, and instruments.
Oh,
yeah, that would be sweet.
That would be
yeah, that'd be. So we're gonna bring back that. What is it? The envelope 1, right? So we're gonna. I think it was the decay amount, right? There it is.
I've already influenced this with the.
Yeah. Get a little bit louder. Let's turn this down a little bit. I don't know if I like that. I can just do a quick tune using a D-tune. I'm gonna turn that back up. I'm gonna bring this back. So yeah, from here, probably try to do like a cool bass line or something.
Yeah, let's. I'm down. I'm here for it.
All right. So we'll bring back this little 303 guy. Except we'll delete all of it.
I'd love to see how you do your 303 bass lines on here. This is a good part.
So yeah. So I will do this the way I'll. If you want me to like kind of emulate the way like the 303 should behave.
Well, I want you to just do what you would do. Is that what you do? Do you emulate the way the 303 behaves?
So generally, if I'm going to have a 303, I'm probably going to use my actual 303, right?
Okay.
Just simply sending it MIDI notes doesn't mean it's going to behave the way that like the 303 sequencer behaves. It has a couple little quirks to it that make it sound the way it does. For example, a lot of the envelopes they'll close before they start the next step, even if they're 2 steps next to each other. There'll actually be a little bit of a kill.
Mm-hmm.
And you just if you don't have it, they just sort of kind of bleed into each other. Let's see if I can get an example here. So we're gonna so you can hear like, for example, the 3 here, right? If I were to make it try to sound closer to like the actual sequencer in a 303, I would add little kills here, like this. So you actually kind of hear a little snappiness of it, because the envelope closes all the way before it opens up on the next step.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
I hear the little click.
But if I were for this, I'll just kind of like. And you'll please be patient with me as I do.
Yeah.
I'm very much
take your time.
I definitely do some like brute forcing for like melodic content, so it's this is a good time for questions while I'm
go for it. You can do it, and I'll talk to these folks. Somebody said, why do you need a fast tracker in a box in 2023? And you're going to Tracker Prison for that question. Yeah. Straight to Tracker Prison. No, I'm kidding. It's because it's fun. That's why. Because it's fun, and they're amazing, and they're awesome. And it's way more fun, in my opinion, than working on a computer to try and make this kind of music. This music really lends itself to step sequencers, not so much to working on a computer. Also, you can walk around and sample anything in your studio and put it in here, or someone else's studio for that matter. You can go to the synth shop with a tracker and come back with all new sounds. Renoise is dope. Yeah, Renoise is dope. We love Renoise, but it's not a replacement for something that can go in your pocket. Even though I have nothing bad to say about Renoise, but the Dirtywave M8 form factor does look fantastic, because it's really great. I'm excited for them to come out with a USB-C version with a larger screen, which will hopefully happen next year if we're lucky. I'd really like that. This is already sounding fantastic. It's so 303. There we go. Shattered Square nailed it. It's a super sampler, infinite voice sound module, not just a tracker. Absolutely. It's a polyphonic synthesizer. It's a multi-timbral device like a Digitact or a Syntact or a Digatone. I mean, listen, look at this. It's awesome. We're just kidding, Dimitri. You don't have to go to tracker prison. Just tracker jail.
I want an 808 rim shot with my 908, 909 stuff. So where do I put it? I think it's again, pitch too high up. Iteration. Clone this, turn it into like a rim shot.
Do you edit your reverb usually? Do you use the just default settings of the reverb and the delay?
Generally, I want a cowbell. I want it on the very last step, actually. There it is. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, now we have an idea, right? This is like the way I would work from here is just make iterations, right? I'm sure it's the same with, using Electron gear where I have a pattern. I'm imagine you can clone a pattern into a new pattern and then just modify it.
That's exactly what I do.
It's the same kind of workflow.
Yeah.
It's just, do you like to see big, LEDs, or do you like
the
tiny?
handheld.
Do you like the handheld spreadsheet experience?
Yeah. Gotta say, I like them both quite a bit.
Yeah. So, where do we even move from here? This is essentially what I would be doing at home. It's just like, all right, well.
What would you add, like a lead line or something?
Yeah.
I feel, like often I hear in your music too, but in a lot of other M8 Tracker users using classic like NES style synths.
Yeah.
But like using slides and stuff
Yeah.
to like move the sound around.
If I wanted to make something kind of like chiptune-y, I definitely would do that. You know what? It might be fun to do to do like a Commodore 64 sort of like PWM lead kind of thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's make it first. So you'll apologize if it's ultra loud here for a second.
It's not. It's not too loud for anybody.
So we're gonna do just simple. We're going to what we want to do is there's this function here called mirror. You can see here it changes the pulse width. That's what we want to adjust. So mirror. So if and we want the LFO.
You hear it stepping.
Yeah, we can make it smoother if we want.
Oh,
Not super smooth.
Changing the sides, got it.
Then we can. And what's nice with the ADSRs, you can, since we have ADSR envelopes now, we also have like an off step, so you can, trigger the release step.
So when here's a good question. This keeps popping in my head. It's like when you have it set to an ADSR, but you want the sound to progress for like 10 steps long. What are you doing? Are you just holding the sustain?
Yeah. So
in the envelope, are you just turning that up on the effects lane, or because like that's triggering an envelope?
So I'm sorry. I feel like I you asked me the question and I got into like I was looking at this. So, all right. So can you please ask me a question once?
So say like you plucked a note.
Yeah.
Right. You hit that, and as you're holding the trigger down, the gate is high. The note is playing as long as the trigger's held down.
Yes.
But if you have it just play once you have the amplitude envelope addressed to the amplitude, then it will pluck through the length of our envelope generation, right? Which is how we normally would want it.
Yeah.
But if I want that to stay high without re-triggering the envelope.
Oh, yeah, you can just delete the instrument. So if I want to change like the note, for example, it stays high.
But what if it's like, well, you haven't, when you set an envelope to it, which it sounds like you haven't yet.
Right? There's an 80s. See how it's not triggering again on the next note?
Okay. Oh,
See that?
got it.
And then you could hit an off, you know.
I guess maybe I should just keep my sustain high.
Yeah, keep your sustain high.
That will solve that issue.
Like,
okay, that's been my problem. Is I keep playing with attack decay envelopes. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Solved.
So, what are we gonna do for a melody? The melody is the hardest part. So this is where the challenge really begins. How do I write the off? All you do is the cut function, which is option and edit.
Yeah, you can do it if you want.
To do it is just option edit together, and it triggers the off. The same way that you cut stuff. So you can just easily turn off and keep it going. So pretty straightforward.
Whoops.
Oh. So for this though, I'm just going to use just a regular ADHD. I tend to kind of just use a simpler envelope until I know how complex the melody is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I'm trying to do something that's sort of simulating like somebody singing, you know, where it's going to be a bit more dynamic and you're going to be holding notes longer than other ones. Once I know what I'm going to do, I'll shift this over to an ADSR and then
you'll start
adjusting the envelope that way.
Okay.
But generally, if I'm just kind of doodling a melody, I just use the simplest one possible. So
a question here, like when you're programming your melodies, are you doing it on the M8 with your hands like this, or are you using something like
a keyboard?
Yeah.
I'm for me personally, it's the same exact way that I wrote music on LSDJ with a Game Boy, and I just do it all by hand.
Okay.
And it's a lot of like, again, if I don't have an idea in mind, I'll just sort of brute force something. I'll just let something loop over, add notes or move notes until it sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like any groove box, you know, if you're just kind of punching notes in, you're like, oh, this sounds kind of good. And then you start iterating.
Ryan from Acid Rain also works on the NerdSeek, and he always would swear by plugging in a key step to the NerdSeek's MIDI adapter to writing in the NerdSeek insert. And I can see where that would be useful, but I never got the hang of that being like my workflow. There we go.
Turn this up a little bit. Maybe add a little bit of. I like a little go past it. Do it again. I'm brainstorming here.
Oh no, yeah, this is awesome. This is the best part.
Like that, you know?
Yeah.
cool groovy guy.
So once you
yeah.
have your column that you've just designed now, are you just copying and pasting this whole row?
Yeah.
And then just doing deep clone, deep clone, deep clone, deep clone.
Kind of, yeah. So
Or
it's
do you
like
work it? You just separated it.
Yeah.
Right. So, is this what you do?
Yeah. So what I'll tend to do, and I can save this real quick. I'll just pick a random name here. Call it Bionic Lights. That works for me. I can show you an actual track that I'm working on, for example. Let's take a look here. We'll do track.
Borch is asking if you can use the RMX command somewhere.
Oh yeah, I can show how it works if you'd like to take a look at that. So you'll see when I'm working on tracks. This is a full track, but I'll tend to have junk down here at the bottom where I'm working on new ideas. And I just like use the extra space at the bottom sort of as a scratch pad.
Okay.
And then once I have the idea, I'll bring it up here and I'll drop it in.
Because there's a paste and there's a paste move.
Yeah, so
right?
I can...
What's the paste move? Like, how do you do that?
So if you have this held, you hold edit while it's highlighted, and you can pull everything up and down. So you can collapse it like that.
Oh.
Yeah. So you can
Never even seen that before.
Yeah, you can get really cool with it. So it's like, oh, I really like this part. I want to drop this. I want to drop it in here.
Cool.
You know? Yeah, this little footwork track. I'm making a mess of it now. Yeah, so yeah, you get the idea. Actually, let me undo that real quick. It's one of those things that's like hard to explain as you're doing it, and it's just so much of what I do is muscle memory.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Having to think about like, all right, how do I translate what I'm doing into words?
You're doing a great job translating it. No.
Yeah.
It's been you've been spot on.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
So, I believe this is the most recent firmware. Yes, it has the nice little nudge function. So if the track is playing, so if I just have, I can just hold it. So if you're playing with other instruments and maybe they're not MIDI synced and they're just a little off, you can nudge it. It's just like when if you're ever DJing or with a controller and you have your two tracks and they're, you put your finger on the record, right? Or not the record, but the table, the turntable.
Yeah. And
you can slow it down just a smidge, just so that you can get it.
You can start matching them together.
So that sounds right on.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So RMX command, I can show that. Let's what was the name of the track that we made? Bionic Lights. So RMX I have not used a lot of, but it's pretty cool the way it works. So let's find it. It is a sequencer command, I believe. Yes, here it is. So what this does is it forces all the tracks to the left of this one, as you can see here, to the step that I tell it to go to. So what's cool with that? So it's like a way to remix your tracks. So
did you use it like
it's like it's like a reset. It's you have your sequencer reset button, right?
Yeah.
But you can reset to any step you want it to reset to.
Oh.
So what's cool about that? So if I play this, so you can see it's resetting. So I could do like bump bump, and then like reset this to step 4, do this one to 8.
Oh, it's like random chopping.
Yeah, you can kind of chop. You can almost chop your sequence as opposed to. So
this would be a way to remix your own tracks. Or to improvise during a live set.
Yes.
Give it
yes. So you want to do like a cool fill. But here, I'll show you something that's actually super cool. If I do this and set, I think I remember how to do this. Interpolate.
Yeah.
The sequencer is now scrolling upwards and it's going up instead of, so the whole song is playing backwards now. So we could actually do that. That would actually, so let's do that for this song. So we'll do all blank and then we'll make it 8 bars actually. So
there we go.
We can just make this all, just to make it easier for us to watch what's going on. Just do that. What else? This guy here. Oops. Sorry, I'm going too fast. this guy, copy this, and now so we go through. It should be done right. Whoops, it's because I put it in the wrong step. So we'll start halfway through. It should do it. Let's see.
I believe it. But it will just for the one row, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it did it. It worked. So then we want to actually make sure that it goes back, resets to the top here.
So even though it remixes in reverse, it's still going to progress to the next chain.
Yeah.
At the right
It'll still move.
Because the chains are counting ticks.
Yeah. But it's cool. It's a really cool way to kind of just shift stuff around. If you want to, it's like a really nice way to do like a pseudo beat repeat too. If you don't have
that's what I was kind of like. Could I use it like? Because I use a lot of beat repeats in my music.
Me too. I love beat repeats.
You use that? Which mixer do you use? Is it a DBX?
It's a Pioneer. What is it? The DJM 450, which is like 450. It's half of the Nexus 900, I think it's called.
What features does it have? It has beat repeat.
Yeah, it has the beat repeat. It has
which is just
pitch shifter.
Beat synced. Are you tap tempoing?
Yeah.
That beat repeat
So I just tap it in and then just trigger it.
And just drop the beats.
Before I was using the Pioneer mixer, I used a KP3 forever.
Okay.
I still have my Chaos Pad. I love it. It's my favorite. It's like.
You hear that, Korg?
Yeah. Yeah, Korg, you should definitely put out like a new Chaos Pad because.
Please.
That's the one thing that I think that I wanted for like ever was just them to just take the KP3 and just update the algorithms. The reverbs on it are really, really crusty.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they're kind of cool that way, but it would be nice for them to kind of
because make it better.
Yeah.
Smoother.
I feel like the KP3 originally was sort of meant with like almost like a consumer mind, like almost like a music toy rather than an instrument. Just it uses a lot of kind of lower grade like op amps and stuff, so it really distorts and adds coloration to your signal. And if you're trying to use it in a studio setting and you just want to add some really cool effects, it dirties your whole signal, and you don't want to do that. The KP3 does, and which is unfortunate.
So what is your when you're playing live? What is your signal chain?
Well, these days it's just the two M8s going into a DJ mixer, and I more or less kind of use them as decks. And then I'll have an external synthesizer. Both the M8s will go into a MIDI merge, and they'll control one. I could potentially in the future use two 303s, one for each M8, but that's one more thing that could potentially fail, right?
Right.
When I think about my live setup, I try to make the footprint as small as possible. Like I try to optimize both the footprint and the setup, because every cable you use, every device you use, is another link in the chain that could fail.
Absolutely.
And there's no worse experience than doing your sound check and something failing, and you going, oh my God,
I forgot a cable.
I forgot a cable, or this cable is like shot, and it's like, or you don't know which cable has failed if you have a huge chain of devices.
Right.
I feel like if you play a lot of live performances, you kind of figure out what you want in your set. But especially if you're new and you're still trying to figure out what your table setup is going to be, that's like the nightmare scenario.
Yeah. I feel like, and also too much gear is like live performance paralysis. You and I come from a similar idea. I don't want to say background because we're different backgrounds, but we have a similar idea about what's going on. I think we both love the idea of making live setups.
Yes.
About playing live. It's all about that. I'd rather record a stereo output and master it or something. That's what but whatever, the stereo output as opposed to multi-tracking, just because I enjoy that experience more. And that's why I always play with the same pieces of kit that I play with. I know them like the back of my hand, and I can improvise on them, and there's not too much. For me, at least, there's not too much. But I see folks with giant systems and they have so many pieces of kit, and I'm like, when do you have time to go over during a set to actually do something meaningful?
Yes.
Over here.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. there's always you always know the one guy who has like the world's most elaborate setup, and
It's
he's
like tens, just like
I'm gonna have
like
my
15
laptop, and then I'm gonna have
synthesizers.
my MPC, and then I'm gonna have my rhythm, my analog rhythm, and then I have my Novation circuit, and you're just like, all right, man, how many hands you got? Like,
Yeah.
it makes sense when if you are like, there are like electronic duos and stuff
Yeah,
where they're
duos, I
all
think
doing
is
it,
a good
which
idea.
is super cool. But when it's just you, that's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I think, being able to streamline, like even just put yourself on rails.
Right.
If you ever think of like rail shooters, like video games like Star Fox.
Yeah.
You're on the track and you have all this control and you can improvise and do all these fun things, but you still get from point A to point B with minimum failure or potential for failure.
Yeah.
So
I feel like also the M8 puts you on rails.
Yes.
A little bit, because the M8 is basically a song mode.
Yeah.
Right? Like
it's
this is the song
This
mode.
is the song. You got eight trains, all on their own tracks.
I love
They can
that.
all run at their own speeds.
Yeah.
They can go backwards if they want to. They can jump ahead. All you have to do is just make sure that they stay on the tracks and get them all to the same station on time. I don't know. Train analogy.
You are my train conductor.
Yes.
Wait, do you use the live mode much? Because
Live
that's what
mode.
I remember.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the M8 was first coming out and I was getting into it? We were chatting and I was like, it needs to have this. It needs to have this. Like, not it doesn't needs to have, but I was like, does it have these? I want these things to integrate it into my Electron setup. And what the live performance aspect was one of them, like the you know what I mean,
mode.
going into live. Yeah, shift plus left.
So shift plus left puts you in the live mode and allows you to, instead of thinking it necessarily as the train tracks going down, you can almost use it as like Ableton session view. Is it the session
that's
view?
it's session view.
It's session view. So you have you just have little islands of all the different song arrangements that you
And that's
want.
what I was doing, and that's how I did it on the nerd sequencer with the Octatrack. I have my modular nerd sequencer, Octatrack sending clock to the nerd sequencer, but nothing, like no program change happening. I just queued it up, resampled tracks, and then transitioned through the resampled tracks.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it's a similar aspect,
So-
or similar setup.
So I don't really use live mode that much. The way I do use the concept, I guess, is for like a lot of my tracks. So like if I
Like,
go to like
is there any like improvised sections when you're performing live?
sure.
Do you like jump into live mode and be like, I'm gonna let this chill, and
Yeah.
then you start tweaking your 303 for a little bit longer?
Yeah.
Or
So what I'll do is like, for example, we have this track called Funky here. So I have more or less like DJ cues, right? So I'll,
yeah, what's with the blue segments?
it's bookmark. So if you just tap, I believe it's option, it just creates a bookmark. Doesn't do anything. It's completely superficial. It's just markers. It's like I set them usually for like this. There's going to be a change in this song that's happening, and I need to prepare either my 303 or I need to make a decision now.
Yeah.
In terms of like what's going to happen next. So it's just great little reminders. Just
Okay.
little flags you can put in your stuff. So yeah, at the beginning of my tracks, I'll have like, this requires my 303, so it's not going to play. But this is the sequence here. But I'll have it at the beginning of my track. So say this track is playing through, right? And it's playing through, and I'll go through this whole song. And at the end, I'm like, okay, I need to get it into a little island. And actually, I think I have this set up to do that. So if I go here, it just puts it into this little loop. And then I'm able to go into my next song, which has islands like this, and I'll start up the next track, and I'll do like a blend. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I had two M8s here, it would make more sense with the context. But
So when you do your two M8s, they're both doing their own individual same thing. They're both playing drums, bass, everything. They're both playing full tracks, but you're just DJing across
just sort of DJing across, but
from track to track.
rather than not like I'll give them both kind of playing synchronized by ear, and then I'll play this track, right, and I'll drop all the drums from this track, right, and just have this part, and then I'll start playing the percussion on the other M8, so they're blending, and then I'll start working into a crossfade. Yeah, just big arcs. Yeah. Sorry, that's super
The
loud.
music is so fun. You're playing this month.
Yes.
Yeah,
What
so
day
you're
is it?
playing in my place.
Yes.
That is, I can tell you the day.
It's the last Tuesday, right?
Yeah, it's the last Tuesday. It's the
Start.
26th.
Oh.
September 26th, come down to the 4Bs in Ballard to see mikey303 play with 3 other artists. So it's a full-on hardware show, but Mikey's gonna open up and kind of run the show. I mean, I'll be there too. I'll
Looking forward to it.
I'll be helping out, but I'm excited.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great. So now what? What happens next?
What happens next? That's a good question. We can go back to the track, or if
something
you have
I've
questions?
seen, like when I see you play live. Okay, when I see you play live, you have your 2 M8s, you got your mixer, you're doing your beat repeats. I know you're doing all the syncing you do live. I wouldn't do that personally because it sounds crazy. But I would try it, and I'd be interested in trying it. But I'm so used to my clocking situation. Like, I've been babied by clocks, and you're using your DJ mixer doesn't have MIDI, right?
No.
So you have to.
Yeah.
Right. That's just a part of the game.
You could do it. There's nothing stopping somebody from having a primary clock that's going to both the mates and keeping them synchronized, because it will keep the clock as you load new projects.
Yeah. Why don't you do that?
Like force a habit. It's just like this is all old behavior from I used to play with two Game Boys doing LSDJ, and
Right.
they
Did
weren't
you
synced
DJ?
either. I've never DJ'd. in
I've
my
never
life.
DJ'd either,
So,
so I don't know.
So it's funny when I'm like, oh yeah, it's kind of like DJ.
But you're like
decks, but
totally
like-
you totally DJ your things
Yeah.
like very well.
But it's cool because you mean again when you have everything on rails, right? I can still fill my mutes and solos and transfer stuff.
Oh, do you ever use that live?
Yeah, not for this, but
Right.
yeah, I'll do it for like. Let me think
Does
about
that save state thing? Does that also remember what you've done in that menu?
it. It should. Let's find out. So we're gonna.
What's the snapshot combo? I forgot.
It's shift and I believe it's shift and
You just do.
Option?
Your brain just does it. It doesn't even know how it does it.
that's so hard. Yeah, shift and edit, or shift and option, and then I think it's option and play, edit. Okay, so it's option and shift makes
Snapshot.
saves it, and then shift and edit recalls it.
Okay.
So let's find. Yeah. it does.
Oh.
Yeah.
We learned something together.
Yeah, very educational. But yeah, I love using the transpose live. It's nice because when you use edit and up and down, it's by octaves. So I'm not knocking it out of like
Right.
to like a different, because it's like a transpose it to a different, and it kind of makes it sound funky.
But then if you have it not, you had it on chromatic in that time. But if you didn't have it on chromatic, wouldn't it? And you moved it up.
for
Oh, it's
transpose.
in octaves, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's an octave. So I can so I'd be like.
This is sick.
It's like maybe not that, but you get the idea.
This track is a banger, dude.
Yeah.
And this is your new M8, your new 303 patch?
So no, this is an old track. So this is from my EP that I put out last year. Was it last year? I think it was last year. But this is just a rubbery guy from. I think it originally was a 303. This actually might be my 303 patch. Actually, that comes with the M8.
Okay.
But yeah, you can see I'm doing a lot of. I think just doing like slides and little rubbery guys. Just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I love filling all that stuff up.
Yeah, you make great 303 like bass.
Yeah.
I mean, you just make great music. Somebody was saying they wanted to know how the song Q mode, but another person also addressed it at the same time.
Okay.
Because what it does do, that's so great. Unlike working on Electron, sadly, is if I wanted to load a brand new project, the M8 will load that project and wait until the song finishes before it plays the project.
Yeah, song queue is super nice.
Song queue is really powerful. Really great for everything. I mean, shit.
I could switch to it. So the song is queued up now. And once this finishes up, this is perfectly on time. So if you just have your other tracks, you know.
Do you like? Okay, here's a question. So when you're playing a live show and you're playing 5 or 6 songs, are you playing all the same tempo?
No. I tend to work my way up. I usually start at like 120, 130, and I get all the way up to like 180.
So you build up.
I usually build up.
Use your songs as a way to.
Yeah, I just kind of escalate. You know.
Sometimes I'll open with like my highest energy song. It's just like explosion.
Just going all in.
And then all of a sudden I'll dip down and then try and go
back
up.
That's fun too.
I don't know if there's like a better way to do it or not, but
you know, it's just how read the room. I guess it's like the best. You know, and it also depends on who I'm playing with. You know, if I'm going first, I'm probably just not going to worry too much.
That's usually I'm usually.
Yeah, you just play whatever, because then the next person goes, okay, well he ended on some like hard trance stuff, so I guess I'll start with my trancey stuff too.
Okay.
You know, and everyone else kind of plays off of it, or nobody cares and they just do their own thing. Whatever makes them happy, that works too.
Yeah,
it just comes down to the people you're playing with, and you know, especially if you're curating a lineup, I always try to think about those things, you know, like who's going to go first, why they're going to go there, who do I think is going to, you know, you kind of have this like curve when you think about like the kind of energy people are expecting from like a show, you know, trying to get them up, you know, warm up, and then also have that little cool down at the end. Because if you keep riding people on super high, like nonstop the whole time,
people will get tired.
I gotta go. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. I kind of like usually bang people out at the end of sets.
Yeah. I think I like to do that too. I like to end on something just super aggressive. Just
like have it be like, this is what you remember me doing.
Yeah.
I blew your ears off.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Your favorite pieces of gear to pair?
My Avalon bassline is my number one.
So if you could pick real. Okay, here's a good question.
All right.
RE303. Let's switch over to this perspective here. What's up with you, mouse? Come back.
The mouse is died.
The mouse is dead. The dead mouse. Okay, so here we go. RE303.
Okay.
Avalon bassline.
Okay.
Real 303.
Avalon bassline.
Avalon. Okay. Eliminate Avalon bassline. RE303. Real 303.
Probably an RE303.
Real 303 is dead to you.
I mean, well, there's a lot of factors that go into this. One of these devices is like 2 years old, and the other one is 40 years old. Yeah. So which one can you trust to not fail on you?
Yep.
Also, which one can you trust to not be stolen during a show?
Right. Yeah.
So
money wasn't a factor.
Yeah. Okay.
If it was just by sound and how, if just like these synthesizers, they're all free. It has to do with how good they sound and how well they play. So
from my personal collection, if I could bring my 303 out and it wasn't going to break or be stolen, I'd probably bring the 303 between an RE303 and a TB.
Okay.
The only reason is because I have more sentimental attachment to it.
Okay. So it's an emotional thing.
But realistically, they are the same instrument, except one has been, one is brand new.
Right.
There's no difference. There's no difference.
Except for like the build is definitely different.
I mean, the build quality is different. Yeah. In fact, the RE303 has higher build quality than the
like
TB.
much higher.
Yeah. It uses the Michigan Synthworks ruggedized pots, which the original 303 doesn't have. There's a lot of wobble.
Oh, there's a lot of wobble.
And RE303, yeah, they like remanufactured the original pots for them, but built them to a higher quality standard, so that they should last a lot longer. The RE303 has MIDI. The TB303 does not. That's a big deal
to me.
So in order to get MIDI on your 303, you have to either you're gonna have to modify it. You have to open it up and install a MIDI brain, or get like a CV gate mod. And the CV gate stuff is cool, but it won't sound correct. I don't know how to explain it, but it just won't sound the same. But
What do you think of the hydronium?
I have not used it, so
Okay.
I couldn't give you a full opinion on it.
I have used it, and I have nothing bad to say about the hydronium, but I don't consider it a clone of a 303. Although that is kind of what people associate it with.
There's so many factors. It's almost like talking when people talk about guitars and like tone wood and all that stuff, and you're just like, oh man, because it's like the sequencer is what makes the 303 sound like a 303. It does to a degree,
right?
But it's something that can be emulated. You can emulate
very easily.
You can emulate it. It's not like, oh, the magic is lost the second you give it a different sequencer. Because you could make another sequencer behave.
If you can give it accents and slides.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
Really. Except for what you would program, because that sequencer lends itself to you not having any clue what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just kind of going bop 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 bop, and then like, I hope it sounds good, and yeah, it does. It sounds good every time.
Yeah.
Because it's a broken. It's like an OP synthesizer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
you just kind of
it's the
punch
Moonlight
it in
Sword.
Yeah. It's true. It's very true. Someone asks about quick render. Quick render is very easy. It's very quick.
Switch this over. Bonk.
All right. So if you want a quick render, let's say. Sorry. Let me find. Say I like this track here. Right. All you have to do is Shift, Option, and then edit. And it says render selection sample.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
And you can
Option, edit.
Yeah. So you highlight what you want to render, right?
Oh my god. Can you do that on just like
Yes. Okay. So for this example,
this makes the most sense. This is what you would do.
So it's like, because I want to do like I want to like take this track and I want to like bit crush the whole thing, right?
Right.
So this would be a good example.
When it's rendered.
So it's rendered.
What volume is it rendered at?
So it should be at 7F. So let me.
So 7F will play it back at the exact volume of the original.
It should sound exactly like the original sample.
Like
Unity. So it makes a new instrument, the full sample, the full mix. So if I.
So now we can chop it.
Yeah. So I could go in there and
Oh shit.
Yeah, and then you can. And it's like.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, you get the idea. So super
cool.
Super nice. But yeah. So then for example, what I was talking about, like say I wanted to. I'm gonna get rid of the slices real quick. And then I could just like have like where's degrade at? Degrade, and have repeat command here, and just like
The
so you could do the whole
command.
So good.
I wish they had that on the nerd sequencer.
Yeah, that would be.
That's
great.
a real missing command. I could think about that. I like think about Thomas Margoff, and like I want to reach out to him and be like, you see what Tim's doing?
Yeah.
I was like, dude, just if you could copy just some of the stuff he's doing, your sequencer would be better.
Yeah.
Like, and it's good. We love the Dirt sequencer, both of us. I know.
Yeah.
But there are some stuff like the rep command is so good,
it's so powerful,
and you can't do it. You can do the CV glide.
Yeah, CV glide. That's as close as you're.
But it's
gonna
like
get.
that's just like interpolation, and it's still like unpredictable, kind of. You know what I mean? Unlike this.
Yeah. So if you wanted to do that for like this track, get the idea. It's pretty cool.
Dude, that's so sick. So whatever happened? Well, you got rid of that Prophet 10. It's still sitting at the shop.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Those aren't like your sounds, or.
No. I find that I don't really have a lot of fun with polysynths. I feel like a really good monosynth, the focus is more on like the timbral flexibility
and the rhythm.
And I feel like that gets lost when you're budgeting out to multiple voices. I don't know. It's just
I agree, because that's why like in my setup I'm like barely using my digatone anymore, and like that of all the things that I'm playing with, it's the only thing that does like real poly.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of left the scene because the Syntactic has so many tracks of monophonic synthesis that I can do.
Yeah, my issue with not my issue, but I feel like something like the Prophet or any of the Prophets or any polysynth is they definitely kind of designed it more for someone who actually plays keys.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Well,
I don't.
Sure.
I don't play keys, so it's like I have all these voices, and they just don't. I don't know. I don't. If I'm. I don't need. If I'm doing pads, I'm just gonna use a little synthy stab guy. I don't. I don't know how else to explain it. Just
Have you
not for me.
checked out the Push 3?
I have not.
That's what this sucker is
Yeah.
right here. I'll have to show it to you after the stream.
Sure, that would be great. I have Ableton Live, and I literally just use it for
Recordings.
like sample prep.
Yeah.
So I like use it to like
It's
stretch
like
things,
Audacity,
and then
basically.
I don't use it for anything else. So
I actually was trying to multi-track with Audacity. You can't multi-track with Audacity, sadly. I just found out
Oh.
because I was trying to do it. Like, I never multi-track anything, but of course, when I do, I try and do it in Audacity because I have that kind of Audacity to do something like that.
someone asked about aux tables. I've never really used aux tables. So
What is that? What do
auxiliary.
you mean by aux table?
So there's a new command here. Where's it at? There's so many commands. There's something called an auxiliary table, and basically allows you to trigger another table at the same time.
Oh, so you
believe.
can have two tables
You have
running for one
you have
instrument?
multiple tables running, or you can recall. Is it TBX? Is that what the? Yeah, you can play an additional table. Again, I've not really used it myself, so you are.
Holy smokes.
Unfortunately, you are asking the wrong person, but you could potentially have another table running at the same time.
Dude, that's...
So you're like, oh, one table is not enough. I could, have another
So
table
if we
doing-
built like an arpeggio,
Uh-huh.
we could have another table. If we built an arpeggio...
So I think it would be like if you wanted your instrument to use a different table without using a different instrument. I guess it would be an instance of using it.
Oh, so it wouldn't be that I could play two tables at once.
Well, I would need somebody who we need Tim. Where's Tim? This is something I have not used a lot of.
I forgot. I did not alert Tim.
Yeah. So we could, like, for example, we'll just make this kind of quiet. Make an easy ARP. Let's say
Yeah, do you even need to do table ARP anymore since there's an ARP?
it's sort of a holdover from like just old tracker days, and so it's sort of like a legacy command. So
ARP is.
yeah. What I wish ARP would do is, like, if I used ARP like this, that it would cycle through all the notes here. Does that make sense? So it'd be like, instead of, because like normally the ARP command is limited to 2 other intervals.
Yeah.
I wish they could stack, so it'd do like if I did like
Oh, so
3,
you have, like,
4,
just a whole
7,
bunch.
and it'll ARP this. It'll ARP this way. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it. So yeah. Right. We have a little ARP. So I think.
You can hear, like, for those who did not know that video game sounds came, like, old soundtracks came from machines like this, or from, like, programs like this. I mean, that is some Mega Man shit right there.
Yeah, it's yeah, it pulls a different. Let's see if I can do like a.
It just, I think I remember him implementing this, and
Yeah.
it just chooses a different table as
Yeah.
opposed to the one that's assigned
Yeah, it's a little.
in the instrument, because you can change the table in the instrument, right?
It feels like it's doing both of them at the same time now.
Oh, maybe it does do both at the same time.
Let me Sorry, we're experimenting here. Yeah, it's sort of trying to do both of them at the same time, and it's breaking it. That's kind of cool. So you could do really, really complex stuff with multiple tables at the same time.
When you build your ARPs in your M8, are you going into the table, and then the way I do it is I'll set up like a hop command after like 4 steps in, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll do octave up, octave, I'll do like play 0, octave up, play 0, octave down, and then that'll be like my whole ARP.
Like that?
Or I'll go 1 down an octave.
Oh, I see.
And then I'll slow the tick rate in my table, in my instrument,
Yeah.
down to like, I'll bring it to 6, so it's like 16th notes. And then I go into my table and I add an envelope reset for amp and for filter.
Oh, okay.
And that's how I build like a regular,
Like a traditional. ARP.
traditional ARP.
Oh, yeah.
That's not how you do it?
I don't really use ARPs that much. If I were doing it, I would just. I don't know. I would never
wouldn't
use
ARP?
ARPs. I wouldn't ARP like that.
Okay.
I love tracker ARPs too much.
Because the tracker arps don't reset the envelope in the filter.
No, that's correct.
Or the amp envelope in the filter. So I'm trying to do like classic.
That makes sense.
Not tracker classic in the sense. Classic arp in the sense of an arpeggiator.
Yeah. We can do like different speed for this one. Yeah. I love this little trick here. You can change a single row speed, so they can all run at different rates.
Oh.
By throwing a little tick down here, so you can have the same table running at different speeds.
Wait, why does that work like that?
It's sort of a hidden behavior. It's not mentioned anywhere in the documentation.
Wait, why is it at the end of the table and it affects the top of the table?
It's because it's looking at the bottom to know it. Usually when you're using a table, you're probably not using all the steps.
Yeah.
So Tim implemented a thing where it's like, okay, it's going to look at the bottom first to see what speed that row should, or that column should play.
Holy smokes.
So
That's really clever. This is a really cool trick. Because I'm going to use this with my ARP technique that I like to do. But then I can use the other tables to do, or other rows to do cool effects on the arpeggio, like maybe change the oscillator shape or something on a per step basis.
Yeah. This is more like classic computer kind of sounds.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sounding very Commodore.
Yeah, very, very, very much. You ever play with the wave filters as opposed to just the?
No, what's that?
So this is a wavetable synthesizer. So
where's it getting the wavetable from?
Well, so the way it works is I'm over my head with the actual specifics of how this works. But so it uses a way. So instead of using an actual filter, you're just it like goes through a different like frames of.
It's like animation. Windows. Is it windowing?
I don't know how else to explain. Is somebody in here
somebody
know better than I do? So let me just show you what it can do though, before I start talking out of my butt. So instead of actually doing a filter, it's just shaping the wave, like the actual waveform, as opposed to applying an actual filter to it.
Okay.
And so it steps through different wave shaped like tables here, essentially. Does that make sense?
I have not played with this. It sounds really good.
So you can get really cool like formant stuff.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I use it a lot for like, there's an old on LSDJ. There's a thing called a wave channel, and it's literally a 4-bit wavetable synthesizer. Okay. And it's where all the samples take place, and it's a little like 4-bit, just super crunchy synthesizer thing. And by default, the wave synth is like modeled after the way the Game Boy's wavetable works.
Okay.
And it has filters, but there's obviously no actual filters on a Game Boy.
Right.
So it just like takes the waveform and it just cycles it through the different shapes that it would have if you were running it through a filter. Does that make sense?
That's crazy.
So it's imagine like you took little
snapshots
snapshots of the wave shape it would be in.
Yeah, like if we had a sawtooth running through a low pass filter, you'd see it change to like a curved sawtooth.
So those each frame is a table. And that's the wave table.
That's
so you're
really
cycling
cool.
through the different wave shapes that it would be if you were applying a low pass filter and the resonance at that state. Does that make sense?
That's dope. It does make sense.
So you get when you have the size down, the resolution of the oscillator is really low. So you get these really crunchy kind of formant sounds, which is why if I turn this up, it won't be so obvious.
Still sounds good though, but it sounds more like oh man, but it just sounds like you do some really cool filter pinging.
Yeah.
Have you seen Night Rider by Rick Modular?
No.
Oh, it's
Please.
really cool.
Yeah,
I know. You would be like, I love this thing. It's really cool.
Sorry.
But if you see Night Rider by Rick Modular, it sounds a lot like that. It has a bunch of different shapes, and I think it's doing a similar idea because it sounds so similar. It sounds really good.
So what we'll do is Let's see. There it is. So we'll do it.
It's doing FFT in real time. I need to play more. There's so much sound design on the M8.
Yeah, it's just, you can just. Yeah, you get the idea. I think I have an effect in here under. I thought it was under. I think it's called Yoi. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like this, like cool, like I don't know, dubsteppy guys.
When you're doing drum fills, are you programming drum fills, or do you ever use just like a snap, like a cut of a drum fill, and then you just have?
I usually program all my own fills.
Because I've seen when you play lives, every once in a while, a cool part will come up, and you'll be like, I see you air drum it correctly.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a complex fill, so it's like.
No, yeah, it's all I do all my
just you
fills.
making like
that's
10,
how I am able to do it
instruments,
correctly. Yeah.
And you're just like, this is gonna make. I'm gonna have a tom, a snare.
Yeah. Let's get all the fills. Yeah, the resonance affects the resonance. I don't know how it's actually, but you can see if I turn it down, it's much more tame. Then you add in all this.
Yeah, it's starting to like square it all.
Yeah, it starts to add all the harmonic. It adds on all the harmonics of.
Okay.
Like.
Yeah. There's something out there.
Yeah, you can get really cool
Totally
sounds.
missed. WaveSynth is cool. Is that only available in WaveSynth?
That is a WaveSynth kind of exclusive filter function.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably why, because I don't use WaveSynth very much.
Yeah.
I'm usually playing with the FM synth.
Yeah, like Harry is saying, is using the cutoff parameter to index the wavetable. More or less, that's what's going on.
Okay, cool.
It's saying this. It's this cutoff value is like this frame of the wave shape. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you get some really cool formant, like
I love
melty
formant sounds.
stuff.
Yeah. I love vocoders and I
Yeah.
love any formant
Yeah.
filters. That stuff really. I mean, it sounds like speaking, which
Yeah.
makes sense why
I know the
we
macrosynth.
like it.
Macrosynth also has a formant in here somewhere. It has two of them, I think.
Yeah, I've played with them and they sound really good.
Yeah, and it's the same ones from Braids, right? They're
Yeah.
just Valsynth and these guys. And just yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah, you get the idea. Yeah, they're super sweet.
Well, dude, this has been really cool. Like for before we go, because we're at 2 hours, which is usually my limit. Not that we have to stop at 2 hours, but it's a good time to like not have our brains get cooked.
Yeah.
Could we maybe play a song, but also can we use this thing?
Oh yeah. So
I'll switch over to the top-down view, and like it's not going to be. And I'll move the camera and let Mikey like play us out with a track.
Sure.
I'm like, you don't need me over here.
Well, yeah, I brought a little friend. Let's see.
Oops.
A lot of my stuff requires my 303, so I'm gonna apologize if I pick a track where there's not a 303. So I'll play one that has very minimal 303 stuff. Organize it. So there's...
And tell me about this controller. You told me already, but I'm sure folks would love to
I'm
know.
so sorry, everybody. This is the an OMX27. So it's a DIY mechanical switch MIDI keyboard. Has a little CV gate out here at the top, a TRS MIDI out with a BA switch, a couple encoders, and then all these lovely mechanical switches. What's great about this is that the developer is a fan of the M8 and made a dedicated M8 macro mode for the M8. So with it, I'm able to control the M8 with this. So this whole side is dedicated to mutes. Excuse me. These are solos. Then you can have your snapshots here that we talked about before.
Yeah, that part's super
it's
dope.
super.
I have to have one of these.
Yeah, and it has a little button here to go quickly to the mixer screen. So if I'm playing, so I'll play something again. I think this is supposed to have a
Where are they? Who makes that?
It's from Denki Oto. So Ki, yeah,
Oh,
and then Oto. Yeah,
okay.
Denki Oto. Yeah.
Sold out. Awesome. They're always sold out.
It's supposed to have my actual 303, but I'm just gonna play it with my fake guy. And actually, I don't have the stuff set up, so let me set this up real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Like this. Assign the mini map to this.
Danke also makes the Shield XL. I did not know that. What's up, Jordan? Welcome.
So let me see if that sounds.
Everybody's getting a little preview of this upcoming Modbang.
My parameters are not set up exactly right, so it's not gonna be perfect, but we're gonna go with it. So, actually, I want it to be kind of perfect. That'll do. So this is a track I made forever ago, and it's one of my favorite ones to play live, just because it's really big, and I think it's a really good showcase of, like, you know, this thing is about the size of your cell phone, and it's always fun to, like, show someone just how big it can sound. So yeah, as you can see, it's roughly the size of a phone. So I'll play this track just because it's a fun one. It also uses a weird time signature. No, it's not a weird time signature. It's like 6/4.
So what do you, before you do that, to do a different time signature, you change the groove tick?
So for this track, I didn't. This was before I had a brain. So the way I would do it was just, I'd have a phrase that's just normal 4/4, and then the next phrase I would just use a hop command halfway through, so just to add the 2 extra steps.
Okay.
So I didn't really think that through at the time, and I think this was before the groove implementation of the step skipping was added. I think that was after I had made this song. It was like a feature that didn't originally exist, I believe. So this is the track.
All right.
Sorry, the 303 does not sound right. Here's I should have hooked up my amp on this one. Whoa! There's supposed to be a 303 there. Don't worry about it.
That just sounds amazing.
So yeah, that's a track.
You want to keep going? You want to play another?
Sure.
I'd love to hear one more. That
Sure.
was awesome.
I can show you something new. It's a work in progress. Actually, I need my 303 for it. So I would need to set that. Let me see if I have something that I can play that doesn't require an video. Let's do... Oh, I got one. I don't know where the song cue is at, so we'll find out in a second. Okay, we'll just go ahead and get started. So this is a track I made with my friend Lucas Info Drive. do a little mute right here. And you'll fade out. There you go.
Bam! That track is bananas.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
I'm not 100% responsible for that one. That's me and my friend Lucas. We worked on that one collaboratively.
How do you work on that collaboratively?
Well, the nice thing about the M8 is that you can export project files as bundles.
Oh,
So-
right.
So what I'm able to do is I'll work on the song, bundle it, put it in a zip file, send it over to him, puts it on his SD card, and he can work on it and just send it right back.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So
He's pretty good too.
yeah, he's incredibly talented.
Damn.
We had him play at our last show. I brought him in. I flew him in from Detroit to play.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah.
Oh, okay. He's not even from around here.
No, yeah,
Damn.
yeah. We just collaborated over the internet. Just send him a zip file.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's cool that M8 lends itself to the community around the M8 is a
super
thriving.
super tight knit.
community.
Everyone's also like, everyone is so willing to help each other out. If you ever check out the Discord, people are always asking questions,
Yeah.
and there's always somebody around who's willing to answer or help find a solution.
Yeah.
We have a lot of new people coming in since the next batch started to get delivered, and there's going to be another batch, I think, in a month. So a lot of people have a lot of questions, or they have a lot of like feature requests. And what's interesting is a lot of times people ask for stuff that there's already solutions to. So they're like, okay, well, I want to like make the whole track go through like a big filter sweep, and well, there's the DJ filter, right?
Yeah.
Even if there isn't an actual feature on the M8, there's usually some sort of solution to it. And that's what's really fun about tracking. And it kind of lends to that almost like programmer brain, where it's
like
just
kind of like why I like the Octatrack.
There's a
It's
lot
like
of-
you're trying to make it do things that you would do in music production or on
exactly.
your computer, but see if you can do it over here.
Yeah.
And it's really fun.
Yeah, with all the different commands, it feels like a language.
Yeah.
Once you know what different functions do, you can make them behave in really cool and interesting ways. And that's sort of like what makes the M8 so super fun. It's just like, whoa, how the heck do you do that? If you're like, especially with like FM stuff or any drum synthesis stuff, it's just like over my head.
I know. The FM stuff on the M8 is really good.
Yeah.
It is basically a Digatone.
Yeah. If you know S,
Yeah.
I think worked on the Digatone, right?
Yeah.
His demo, if you've heard his demo song, the single
have.
track, it's just
It's bananas.
super crazy.
He's so good at F. He's
Yeah.
just an FM ninja. Like he
Yeah.
must know like this number divided by this multiplied by this equals something. Octave up plus more
Yeah.
harmonic content or something.
Yeah, he spent some time giving a lot of like feedback to Tim on the FM synth, and kind of helped it shaped in some ways. So
Well,
it's just
holy
like
smokes.
you would get a lot of the cool little features and quality of life things that have appeared have all been, not all, but a lot of it's been user feedback.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, it's missing. It needs this little thing, and Tim goes, actually, maybe it does. And then
No,
he
yeah.
implements it.
I've
It's
brought
great.
things up to Tim's attention throughout its development
Yeah.
that have been implemented, or like found bugs.
the MIDI mute solo stuff.
The MIDI
I
mute
feel
solo
like
is because
of-
of me complaining.
of all the people, you were like, please implement this, and it wasn't until after you started asking.
I
and
don't
finally
even
got
know
pushed
how
through.
to use it quite yet.
Yeah, that's what this controller is doing, by the way.
It's using that implementation.
Using that implementation. Yeah,
Ugh,
Yeah.
I'll take that's my win. I'll take that one.
yeah. Someone asked, did I remix Gashop's track? Yes, that was me. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. I should play that one live more. It's pretty wacky. It's a fun one.
So for like this track, I do have some more questions. So I guess we're not completely done. I do have some stuff.
Yeah.
So for this track, or any of your tracks, but especially the ones where it's just like, it sounds like a lot more of chaos is happening, but it's only for a small segment of the track.
Yeah.
It's like one row is doing something, that row will never repeat.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of like how this track is.
Yeah.
There's nothing to like hold on to and go, I remember that.
Yeah,
maybe the lead line, because 71, 71, 71, that stuff's happening, but
it's just,
or is that kick and snare or something?
That's just, I think that's just here, let me reset the track real quick. Let me do a quick. Yeah, also my percussive stuff. So this is just a ride cymbal, right? So let me turn it down a little bit so I can talk over it just a smidge. But so this is all my percussive stuff on this side here. All like drum and bass kind of stuff, right? And then all the melodic stuff is coming over here. So we have this little line here, right? And then we have the main melody, I think it's, or that's the bass line, like respace. And then we have the main melody is up here. So yeah. And this is just like the same way I write melodies in LSDJ. It's just big melodic lines. But you're curious about parts that don't repeat?
Yeah.
So there's this big breakdown section here. This is, Lucas did the heavy lifting in this part here, but it's just this like halftime part. So this is all just one channel, one voice cycling through tons and tons of different instruments. Yeah, and that's
like a brain explosion.
Again, that's like one of the things where trackers kind of really can like dominate is like, again, there's all these different textures and stuff, and they never compete for space because it's all in the one track, right?
Right.
So you see.
When you break it, so that's the thing, is like when that track is broken down to this little segment, you're like, oh, this isn't so crazy. Like he's using some pretty basic functions, pitch, bend, envelope adjustment, or is an LFO depth come in or something, like stuff like that. Pitch slides.
Yeah, just changing like this is like timbre. And these are just different instruments.
Different instruments.
Just a bunch of macro synth stuff, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Just the sine triangle. Yeah. Just changing the LFO speed right there on this little FM guy. Just pretty straightforward.
It's so cool. It's so cool. But it's got like, yeah, it's straightforward when we analyze it together after it's already been cooked. But like to cook it is a whole nother
scenario. You can have all the ingredients, you just have to gotta know how to cook. You gotta cook.
Yeah, you gotta know how to cook. And cooking takes a lot of practice.
Truly.
I'm still trying to like, I'm at a place right now where I'm like, I can make some pretty intricate, complex sounds in my Electron boxes. Like, I feel like I can just about make any genre that I want. I can get it done. But I'm not quite there to where of like, what's the best route to get things done on my M8 yet? Because I'm still like, I'm familiar with all the functions for the most part, but it's the practice. Like, I haven't cooked enough with it to make the kind of meals that I want to make. You know what I mean?
It's an instrument, It's just like the more you practice with it, the more it starts to feel natural. So one of my favorite things about the M8 specifically, and I imagine it's with any instrument that someone spends a lot of time with, is the way its UI works, where I'm never thinking about like what my hands are doing ever, and that's one of the struggles of me trying to explain things. Is
for sure
it goes straight from thought to input, right? Thought to screen, and it puts you in that same state that you get when you play like piano or play a guitar, or a video game, where you don't think about what your hands are doing, and you're able to just immediately translate what you're thinking about into the sound, right? So I'm never thinking about, I need to push, function function 1 to do this thing. You just kind of
You just
build
do
it. You just
which
do
is
it.
why you were struggling to remember the key
Yeah,
commands
that's what I'm
for that.
saying. It's like
It was
you're like asking me, you're like, I don't know. I just put my thumbs here.
You're like,
and
what
it
do you
just
mean? No,
does it.
it's no. This is control. It's Elon Musk
Yeah.
neural linked you
Yes.
to the
That's
M8,
great.
and now you're just.
You get into that flow state, and you can just move so fast. You just know where you're going.
And that
I don't
happens
have to
really
think about
quickly
it.
because, Frank, to be fair, like to be honest about it, that's how it is for me when I use the M8. And I'm not nearly as good as you at this thing. But for me, when I play with it, I don't think about key commands. I just do commands because that's how this thing works. And this brings up here's our next topic real quick. Polyend Mini Tracker.
Oh yeah, I'm curious to see it in action. I have not touched it. I think I'll be able to check it out at NobCon.
You will be able to check
Yeah.
out, and they will be at NobCon.
It's gonna be interesting. I think I need to really see how it kind of feels ergonomically. There's a lot more buttons and functions.
There is.
I
played it.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people that may come to their benefit. I think a lot of people really love the way the Polyend Tracker's kind of interface is, its UI. Again, it comes from the other school of tracker, right? The PC tracker stuff, where
Renoise
all those trackers used like a QWERTY keyboard, and all the different functions were assigned to button presses. So all they did is make macros for all of them and label them, right?
Right.
So it still kind of works in the same way that somebody who comes from computer tracking would do it. And I'm interested to see how they translated that into the handheld, not thinking about what my fingers are doing, because I worried with all the different buttons that I won't be able to feel as natural, because you kind of lose that Game Boy kind of experience where
it's definitely going to be a different experience.
So I'm really curious to try it out. I want to see how the sampler stuff works.
That's what I'm most excited is that radio or
the little
microphone.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And it's stereo too.
Yeah, stereo samples. It's got a big fat battery, which is great.
And it's big.
It's big. It's
got big old screen.
It's like a book.
Yeah,
it's like a Kindle.
Yeah, it is like a Kindle.
Yeah.
It's like a Kindle or like just like a really really big smartphone.
Yeah,
but it feels good. I like it. Like I think it's cool. But the best part that I think about the Polyend Tracker Mini for everybody is more tracker users.
Yes.
The more tracker users we have, the more people buy M8s. The more people buy, because like Frank, like let's be real, tracker users. I'm gonna buy all the trackers.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't buy a tracker.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a tracker?
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of crossover. A lot of people have either or in both. So, it's cool to see it. We are in a golden age of trackers.
We are in the golden age of trackers.
There's so many choices. Like
crazy resurgence.
Yeah. You have NerdSeek, you have Polyend Tracker and the Tracker Mini, you have the M8, there's LSDJ, there's Little Piggy Tracker, which So Little Piggy Tracker is like a open source Linux based sample tracker. Imagine the M8, but it was only samples, and it could run on a PSP, for example, or like a handheld Linux device.
Oh.
So it's pretty cool. It uses the LSDJ style.
So you know how to use it immediately.
So I mean, it has a lot of key differences. One being samples only. You have to kind of get comfortable with like making like single cycle waveforms and then importing them and then shaping them, and it's far more complex, but you can get really rewarding results from it. I used to use it way back in the day when I would want to have like vocal stems with my Game Boy stuff, and I would sync them together.
Oh, okay. So it's old.
Yeah, it's been around. I forget how old Piggy Tracker is. It's probably it's at least like 12 plus years old at this point. I'm pretty sure. I think it was like 2010 when it got implemented.
Okay.
But it's really cool. I definitely recommend it to anyone who likes this style of tracker or LSDJ style and just want to do just sample stuff. It's free.
I really like
the
the
Piggy Tracker.
LSDJ style.
Yeah.
It's definitely been what connected with me super hard. Although I have a really great time on the Polyend Tracker, and they've done a lot of good stuff. I really like Polyend. I like the people at Polyend. So like I don't know. I just like using their gear partly
Yeah.
because I like the people too. But I definitely had there's something about the LSDJ style that navigation menu, like just the nav is so simple to understand
It's
that I've really connected to as
it's
well.
it's that again is like why I'm really curious to check out the Mini to see how they do the hand to screen
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of like
Will I be able to
translation.
not think? To just
I have
write?
to be able to just never think about what my hands are doing.
Yeah.
If I can get to that state, then it should be a good workflow.
Yeah, I should talk to them. Maybe I can get them to just email you one.
Someone
Well,
asked
email it.
about the remix. If I made it only with the M8. I mean, technically yes. It uses samples from this track, so I did a remix for a friend. A shop. Let's see if it should be here. This so this track uses a combination of original samples from this track that I cut up and reshuffled. Like this is like his like drum break that I just completely rearranged. Let's see.
Drum sounds really good.
And then I used my own breaks here, some of my own samples. I made a little shaker. This is a little white noise shaker I made in the M8. Yeah, this is one of my leads. And I think that's also another FM synth stab that I made. So it's a little bit of both. So it's a couple of his samples, and then a bunch of stuff I made from scratch on the M8.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. It's a fun track. Yeah. Again, I tend to, if I'm remixing something, I want to use a little bit of the source material. And then usually I'll be like, hey, can you like send me like the raw like MIDI out of like your stuff so I can just like rewrite them. Yeah, I can just write the the melody again from scratch with like a new synth stuff.
Super cool.
So like that kind of fun
What
stuff.
a great workflow.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming on. Will you hit the number 1 for me?
I sure can.
Cool. Yeah, this is mikey303. The amazing mikey303. I'm Matthew, aka EZBOT. Typically we do Electron talks, but not always Electron. So very happy to have Mikey come on and show us his chops with the M8, which are clearly phenomenal. And I learned so much. So thank you for teaching me.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is like I got like a free private lesson. Just like really, I'm really lucky right now because
I
it
hope
would
it
be
helps.
expensive.
Yes.
Mikey charges like $1 million an hour
Yeah,
for
yeah.
private
You
M8
should,
lessons.
yeah, you should DM me and offer me a lot of money. No, no, really. If you have questions, I'm sure I could either answer in the comments later on, or if you jump into the Dirtywave Discord, if you just jump and help me, it'll be more than just me. It'd be whoever jumps in. But you're welcome to ping me and ask any more specific questions. Happy to answer.
Thanks, Mikey.
Yeah.
Mikey's playing at the next Modbang on the 26th of this month. That's at the 4Bs in Ballard. 7 o'clock, be there. He's going to start it right off. Make sure you're there because you're going to hear all like a bunch of these tracks that you heard, and then see him with his full rig so he can do the two M8s with the mixer and all the effects he has in the mixer, which make the experience just like this was dope. Oh, dude, honestly, I was like blown away by your performance on your M8, like because you were doing all your tricks, you were doing your DJ
I was trying. Yeah, I was working what I could do. I think I am going to actually. I won't have it ready in time for the next show, but I definitely am going to work on a like M8 only set. Just this.
Just the box.
I think I'm going to do just this and this controller, and that's it.
That's
and like
dope.
I want to do a full.
Kind of
set.
like what you just did.
What I just did. Yeah.
A little practice for that moment.
Exactly. I have some ideas. I've been bouncing around. It's definitely since I've been using the new like preset that I had been working on, the little 303, so I can do all the acid stuff.
Can I get that preset?
Yeah, I can absolutely give it to you. Yeah.
Thank you.
I brought my little SD card reader, so
Okay, cool.
it's all yours.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I really do want it.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm gonna let Mikey go. He's given me 2.5 hours of his time, and I'm really grateful. This was super cool.
Thanks.
But I'll see y'all next week. I'm gonna probably have DJ Weak Acid on next week to teach us all how to make IDM with a modular synth. strictly only modular,
That's gonna be good.
which should be really cool because Nick's a badass on
Yeah,
modular.
Nick's amazing.
Yeah,
Really.
cool. All right, I'll see y'all.
Thank
I'm gonna transition to this sucker.